Prisoners of the Ghostland stars Nicolas Cage as a notorious criminal who must break an evil curse in order to rescue an abducted girl who has mysteriously disappeared. This is directed by Japanese filmmaker Sion Sono, making his English language debut. It premiered at Sundance earlier in the year, before getting a VOD release in September, and it follows in the footsteps of some of the weirder projects Nicolas Cage has done over the past few years, like Mandy and Color Out of Space, placing him in an absolutely gonzo setting and featuring him screaming, yelling, and doing all sorts of wacky antics. While Ghostland is the place Cage's character, simply known as Hero, has to venture to, the film partially takes place in a settlement called Samurai Town, whose governor, played by Bill Moseley, incorporates elements of both Eastern and Western culture, particularly pre-modern culture for both. So we see both cowboys and samurais existing in the same space together, and the overall aesthetic of the film was like Mad Max meets Akira Kurosawa, just both scaled back. Now, while I did hear some mixed to positive reception coming out of Sundance, people seemed to really hate this one when it hit VOD last month. I think given that Cage's more out-there projects are usually cranked up to an 11, people were expecting more of the same from this, myself included. And what helped set that expectation is that Cage himself called it, quote-unquote, the wildest film he ever made. And to be clear, we do see some of the usual unhinged madness we've come to expect in a Nicolas Cage movie. Like I said, there are moments where he tends to let loose, including one sequence where he screams testicle in one of the oddest line deliveries I've ever heard, and part of the premise involves him being placed in a bodysuit full of explosives. However, this doesn't consistently crank things up to an 11, which I think is what's been throwing a lot of people off. It's surprisingly a bit more methodically paced than it lets on. Now, I wouldn't call it slow or boring as others have, but to be fair, it doesn't feature an action-packed extravaganza every other scene. There's a bit more time dedicated to things like the atmosphere, especially taking its time at various points to soak in the imagery of both Samurai Town and later Ghostland. But I wouldn't say nothing happens, as some people seem to indicate. There was action at various points, and there's still tension in each scene, as I think Sono did a fine job of making us care about this mission and whether or not Hero was successful. And considering Cage gets to do his usual craze shtick that he's become known for, I was interested enough in his character, even if he's not presented to always be the most likable guy. And we do meet an eclectic supporting cast along the way, including the aforementioned governor, Nick Cassavetes as Hero's former associate Psycho, Sofia Boutella as Bernice, the woman Hero has to rescue, among many others. There's clearly a captivating cast of characters who we follow, and I think this world was interesting enough to explore, even if the film could have done more. While I don't think this is one of the strongest Nicolas Cage films, I just don't really see the criticism that supposedly nothing happens or that it's boring. It definitely could have been more consistent at times, sure, but there's tension and there's stakes, and it does lead to a pretty explosive ending, no pun intended, that I quite enjoyed. But maybe because my expectations were tempered a little by the time I did see it, that's probably what helped me out and didn't lead to disappointment. So overall, I enjoyed Prisoners of the Ghostland. It's certainly a unique film with its stylish imagery and original story, and while it doesn't go all out the way other Nicolas Cage films can, it still has plenty of moments of fun, boosted by Sono's slick direction and Cage's usual bonkers performance. I really think this one's a bit fairly misjudged, as I felt it was worth the watch, and it's a film I wouldn't mind revisiting. Prisoners of the Ghostland gets a 7.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Prisoners of the Ghostland, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did this ultimately work for you? Was it one of the better Nicolas Cage movies you've seen lately? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.